Welcome back to Us Against Everything, where it is quite literally Landon and I against everything and everyone, I think.
Everything. That's why it's us against everything, including people.
Oh my God. Guys, we have an interesting topic today. In fact, we're going to do a lot more of these topics, these spooky topics. We are very haunty people. And it is about damn time that we follow in those footsteps. So if you guys have been a long-time follower, just know Landon and I are going to be doing some spooky content here very soon.
Spooky. We have a lot of places lined up that we've been doing some research and that we want to go to in our new location, things we want to see, explore, including some paranormal investigation.
Hell yeah.
3 a.m. video recordings at haunted locations.
I'm excited. I'm honestly super excited. I've been dying to do all of that.
I am fucking stoked.
Now, I did want to give you guys a little life update here, just an FYI. So Landon and I finally moved into a permanent place. It's going to be permanent for a while. Probably one of the places we'll stay the longest. We got some plans, but we're going to be here a while. So we are settling in. Yay! We are a little too close to home family-wise. We've got a lot of family around us. Half of the family we're good with, half of the family not so much. It's a little stressful, especially when we have Karen cup calling pool moments.
Don't even get me started on that.
One day, Landon and I have a huge vault when it comes to those stories, and we will fill you all in as time progresses. But OMG, we are just so glad and appreciative to finally feel like we have a home again. It's been a while. Like, our last home did not feel like a home.
No, it felt like a frat house.
A prison.
A prison frat house.
With a cellmate who was absolutely batshit crazy.
It was like the guy that's been in the shoe for like a long time. He's been in like solitary confinement for the last 24 hours.
Oh my God.
But they had him in there for like years, and then they let him out, and then he just was crazy.
You know what episode he reminds me of? I don't know the number of the episode, but that show on Netflix, My Ex-Roommate. Anyways, if you watch the Chihuahua episode where the guy walks around with his Chihuahua following him, literally the same fucking person. Like, I honestly turned to Landon and I was like, we're going to end up on this show.
Luckily, we did not.
Maybe. We would be the dead bodies. We would be telling our story.
Right. We wouldn't be telling our story. Luckily, we got out of that. But today, we have a very special episode for you guys. Today we're going to talk about something that a lot of people have asked us about, the Ouija board.
The Ouija board. Woo! Now let's get into some of the details, because I don't know about you, but I love knowing about things where they originated from. It gives me like a map. So when I'm doing like my investigating, I love knowing the background story. The more, the better.
Let's get into it. The Ouija board has a much stranger history than most people even realize. It didn't begin as an ancient occult tool, a witchcraft device, or something handed down from the medieval times. No. It's actually a relatively modern invention that grew out of a spiritual movement. The story begins in the mid-1800s.
Right. It was right after the American Civil War. Millions of families were grieving lost loved ones. People were desperate. They wanted a way to communicate with the dead. Enter Liz.
I am a psychic and already know many things about you.
This led to a rise in the spiritualism, a movement that believed spirits could communicate with the living through mediums. Me, seances, table tipping, automatic writing like scribing, and of course, many other methods.
By the late 1800s, seances had become incredibly popular in both the United States and United Kingdom.
Not in Canada.
Wealthy families, politicians, and ordinary people all participated.
Interesting. Politicians, huh?
The birth of the Ouija board in 1890, businessman Elijah Bond patented what was called the talking board.
Clever.
The board featured the alphabet, numbers 0 through 9, yes, no, and goodbye.
Wow, but no, let's go back to this. The talking board.
Right, that is stupid, but let's go back a little further. Politicians, no wonders why things have been so fucking crazy. They've been working with the devil.
Right.
Which leads into all of our other topics and everything being intertwined, Illuminati.
Absolutely, which
But
it always
talking
comes
board,
down to.
right, always comes back to the Illuminati. The talking board, I'm glad they changed that. That is really ugly.
Right?
That is disgusting.
It's not even cool.
That doesn't even sound cool. It doesn't even sound like if somebody were to be like, my talking board is acting weird and saying weird things. I'm like, well, it is a talking board, So I'm sure it's going to talk to you. That doesn't sound cool or spooky or haunted at all.
Well, listen to this. Users would place their fingers on the small pointer, which we know, it's actually called a planchette.
Planchette.
It sounds like bruschetta.
Well, if you can say bruschetta, you can say planchette.
Yeah, well, anyways, the finger pointer. That's what I always called it. It actually claims that this planchette would supposedly move across the board to spell out answers. Now, there was one story that claimed that the board chose the name Ouija during a session, and it said that it was meaning good luck. I believe that the Ouija was kind of that story makes sense to me, but I believe that it is not good luck. I feel like it is a word for portal, way out. Maybe good luck for the dead.
I would agree to that. Sure that this text person was like, meh, it's good luck, whatever.
Now, here's where it gets interesting on my video. I believe that the Ouija board, when it was, in fact, the talking board, it didn't have that illusion, that phenomenon, that energy until it became the Ouija board. And I think it became the Ouija board because they started to use these things to fuck with the Catholic Church.
Definitely would agree with that. Why did it become so popular? Well, unlike hiring a medium, anyone can buy a Ouija board and try to connect to spirits at home.
No one should do that.
But it's true. You can buy them anywhere. They had them at toy stores. They had them everywhere. Especially when I was younger, they were everywhere. They were marketing them everywhere. They marketed them as family entertainment more than a spooky occult device. That was when they first came out. A lot of people say differently now.
That's because it's got a really bad vibe. Listen, the Ouija board, although people bring it home, and I'm not going to say that every single Ouija board will do this, but if you don't take care of things properly, it just may lead in that direction. And another thing I want to point out is if Ouija boards keep changing hands and the longer that they're around, so let's say it's a Ouija board from the 1960s. Well, that shit is going to be hella haunted. Something that was made last week from Mattel, no, that's not going to be haunted. If maybe in 20 years, when it's been passed around a few times and used, it might become a portal. It takes time for this to happen.
It most definitely will be, especially if people do not say goodbye, which is one of the biggest things that people do, is they never close out the conversation because they are so scared already.
Right. There's a guy named William Fold. Now, this person is most associated with the Ouija board because he absolutely helped popularize and manufactured these boards. Now, basically, there's an eerie legend surrounding his death. Get this pretty crazy shit. By the 1920s, he was wealthy, well-known, and running one of the biggest Ouija businesses in America. He actually allegedly suggested that the board told him to prepare for big business. He took that very seriously and built a massive 3-story factory in Baltimore that occupied an entire city block.
Imagine a board a piece of wood or cardboard or whatever it was, being like, you need to make a factory.
Literally. And he just took it in. Now, I honestly believe an entity was talking to him, but
A spirit, somebody, it was not the board, that's for sure.
Entity, I mean, listen to his death. On the morning of February 24th, 1927, workers were replacing a worn-out flagpole on top of Feld's factory. Now, like many business owners of that era, Feld personally supervised work around the building, and he climbed all the way to the roof to oversee the project. When something went terribly wrong. Feld was standing near the edge of the roof, holding onto an iron support connected to the flagpole structure. Suddenly, the support gave way, and witnesses said that he lost his balance and fell backwards over the edge of a 3-story building. That's not all that happened. As he fell, he reportedly struck or caught one of the factory windows on the way down before crashing to the ground below. He actually survived the initial fall. Employees obviously rushed to him and transported him to the hospital. At the hospital, one of his broken rib pieces pierced his heart, and he later died that day at age 56.
I wish the board could have, warned him of that.
Right?
Telling him to make a factory, but not, hey, if you do make this factory, you're going to fall off and die.
Death by flagpole installation.
Right. Like, couldn't tell him none of this.
Now, here's apparently where things get a little stranger. According to the accounts preserved by historians of the Ouija board, now while lying in his hospital bed, Feld gathered his kids and made them promise they would never sell the Ouija board business, and they agreed.
That is so fucking wild.
Honestly, I think it was the entity. I think the entity is what genuinely told him to make sure that those kids carried on.
Facts.
Some people claim spirits predicted his death. Though historians dispute many details of the story, I gotta say, I believe this. You fuck around with that thing too much, things can latch on to you and control your body. And something like a fall could have really been a jump.
Now, why people think it works? Well, scientists generally explain Ouija board movement through something called the ideomotor effect. Now you're probably asking yourself, what the hell is that?
Literally, what is it?
The ideomotor effect means people can make tiny, unconscious movements without realizing they are doing so. When several people lightly touch the planchette, these movements can combine and create the feeling that an outside force is moving it. Many experiments have shown that participants often stop producing meaningful messages when they are blindfolded.
Insane.
I mean, that could very well be possible, and I'm not taking away from the fact that that isn't accurate.
There's always that one person at the party that pushes it or tries to spook people out because
Right.
people are impatient and they want instantaneous things. So they're like, boom, I'm going to push this and not actually wait for it to, trigger something.
Exactly.
Guys, spirits are not instantaneous like we are right now. They're not like this. Trying to connect through, it can take 5, 10, 20, maybe even an hour sometimes. It depends.
Right. Like in the movies or even people that show videos, like Ouija boards, you got to keep going and going and going. And it's kind of like a deck of, it's kind of like a tarot deck. You have to work
season
with
it
for a long time.
Right.
Exactly.
You have to season it like you're cooking. It's like a...
Spirits aren't going to come around to your Mattel fucking Ouija board and be like, hey, I'm here. No.
Right. No, they're not going to come there. Just like
Exactly.
if you're not using them and you're not putting them around places, they're not going to get nothing attached to them and you're going to have barely anything come through. It's the same thing with a Ouija board.
Even the Ouija board use. The reason I feel like it's so fucked up is because It's
It fell in the wrong hands a lot of times.
Right, but exactly. But the Ouija is okay. Yes, it's gonna say the messages through the board, fine, but that's not what the ghosts are coming through. They want an out. They want a door. They're like, help me out of here.
Right. And if they find somebody vulnerable, like a child or something who is innocent, they don't know that they're doing something bad, because these evil entities, if it is evil, is going to come through in some sort of form that is going to be appealing to a child.
Right.
They're not going to come looking like some crazy ass devil. They're going to come as a fucking clown or an elephant or a little girl, a little boy, something.
Exactly. Now, how did the Ouija board end up becoming this evil vibe? Well, because the movie Exorcist in 1973, as we know, a young girl uses a Ouija board and becomes possessed. And after that, horror movies, urban legends, religious warnings transferred, basically public perception. And honestly, I don't disagree with it. I feel like there's more opportunity for, like, when you instill fear in something, you're giving it fuel, like
Fear mongering. They do that with everything,
like Annabelle dolls, right? Like the Annabelle doll. You know what? That's basically, the biggest piece of it. The biggest mystery is whether the board is haunted and why so many people, completely ordinary people have reported experiences that felt real. And it's true. It's not even just the board. The spirits or entities, because those come through too, can be messing around with other things. I was playing with a Ouija board in my mom's room. We had a candle on. It was dark. And that's the perfect place you do it. You do it in the candle, the dark. And the candle, by the way, was a Jesus candle, might I add. Right? Fucking crazy. This balloon come into our room when we were doing it. And that was our sign.
That was crazy. But I personally feel like by having the Jesus candle there, I feel like that would ward off a lot of things. I mean, maybe some spirits, like maybe the ones you're looking for, like your grandmother or whatever, to come through. Definitely. Which is good for you because nothing evil will come through, because nobody's going to get no demons coming through with a Jesus candle. Right.
Well, we had a spirit by the name of James Catterjig that came through. And it was a very odd, unusual name. Never found anything on a James Catterjig even later on years. And I was only in like grade 4 at that point.
The one that came through for me, I've had a few, but the one that was at my house was Esther.
Interesting.
And my grandma thinks that was like one of her cousins or something.
That wouldn't surprise me, honestly. So let's talk about the patient worth mystery, because I think this is important. Now, there's a person by the name of Pearl Curran.
Now, Pearl Curran was born in 1883 and lived a fairly ordinary life. She wasn't known as a scholar. She wasn't known as a novelist. She reportedly left school around age 14 and spent most of her time as a homemaker. Nothing about her background suggested she would become one of the most debated in paranormal history. Tonight, everything changed. In July 1913, Pearl visited a friend named Emily Hutchings. The two women began experimenting with a Ouija board, which was extremely popular at the time. During one session, the board allegedly spelled, "Many moons ago I lived. Again I come. Patience worth my name." The spirit claimed to be a woman born in England in the 1600s who later traveled to America and was killed during conflict with indigenous people.
Oh my God.
Yikes. That was the beginning. The messages get stranger. Now, at first, the communications were simple. Then, Patience started producing poetry, proverbs, historical commentary, complex conversations. Soon as the sessions were generating thousands of words, people began attending just to watch.
Oh my God.
The books over time patiently dictated millions of words, several novels, thousands of poems, and plays and short stories. The most famous was a historical novel called The Sorry Tale. Now, many literary critics of the time admitted the work was surprisingly sophisticated. Why people were shocked? The mystery wasn't just that a spirit supposedly wrote books. The mystery was Pearl herself. Researcher wondered, how could someone with little formal education suddenly produce massive volumes of writing filled with unusual vocabulary, historical details, and distinctive style? Believers argued a spirit was communicating. Skeptics argued Pearl possessed extraordinary subconscious talent.
I know.
The investigation, psychologists, journalists, professors, and researchers studied her. No evidence of fraud was ever conclusively proven, but no evidence of spirits was ever proven either.
How could you prove spirits?
I mean, right? Like somebody would have to know, like this person, that was coming through somewhere.
To me, I'm going to go with the skeptics on this one. I really believe that Pearl was possessed. And I believe that this scholar here, Patience, is exactly
That's the spirit.
Like a fucking crazy, like educated person.
Absolutely. Definitely she wrote books.
Of course, but went insane.
Right. Now, the biggest question, was Pearl secretly a literary genius? Did she unconsciously create an entire fictional personality? How did she maintain the same writing voice for years? Why did Patience have a vocabulary that seemed beyond Pearl's education? If it was a hoax and it was sustained for so long? The creepy detail is witnesses claim Patience had a personality. She would argue, joke, insult people, refuse questions, change topics. The spirit supposedly acted like a real person rather than a machine giving answers.
Do you think we should try to channel Patience Worth?
We should. We should definitely do it.
We're going to try
100%.
We have Ouija boards. We're going to give it a go.
I mean, well, with all these questions, I think you said it. Like,
Yeah.
I agree. She was obviously possessed, if all these things, and possessed by this Patience.
All the whispers. They're whispering. All the whispers. I hear them. They're everywhere.
Is Patience Worth real? Well, we're going to find that out.
Yeah, we're going to do it. And we're probably going to throw that content more on TikTok and YouTube, but absolutely. Or maybe we'll go live.
All right. Now, let's move on to some questions.
Yes. So we will come back to Pearl and Patience, P and P. Find it kind of interesting. They're both P and P.
That is crazy, right?
Talk about Mark Twain here for a minute. Few years after Mark Twain's death. Now, we all know Mark Twain. He was the one who wrote The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court. You remember that game? Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Most people assume that was the end of his writing career, right? Apparently, one woman disagreed. Enter Emily Grant Hutchings. Emily was an author and a spiritualist who became fascinated with Ouija boards. A few years after Twain's death, she claimed something extraordinary happened. During Ouija sessions, she began receiving messages from someone identifying himself as Mark Twain.
Emily Hutchings the same person who hung out with Pearl?
I don't think so.
On July 13, Pearl visited a friend named Emily Hutchings. The two of them began experimenting with the Ouija board.
God, okay. So Emily was friends with Pearl.
And she probably broke off. She was so obsessed with the Ouija board that she was like, I got to channel my own author and become famous.
That's crazy. Well, during one of the sessions, she began receiving these messages of somebody identifying themselves as Mark Twain. They became longer. They became allegedly like chapters, a spirit novel. The spirit called itself Mark Twain, supposedly. And the book was called Jap Heron. Hutchings insisted she was not writing the book herself. She claimed Twain's spirit was providing the words through the Ouija board. I gotta hand it to her. Finished manuscript was even published.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then that's when everything exploded. The Twain's family was not amused. Mark Twain's daughter, Clara, was furious. The Twain estate argued the book was not written by Mark Twain. The claim was misleading.
I mean, how devastating. Their father's dead and then you're claiming he's writing books through a Ouija board?
I get it from his perspective completely. The publication was exploiting Twain's name and a legal battle ended up following. Eventually, the book was pulled from publications. But was it real? And okay, this is where I'm going to come into this because I think this is important to say. When I was in Buffalo, New York, when Landen and I just first started dating, Landen took me. Gorgeous, historic, beautiful, what looked like a Vatican, honestly. This rustic library. And inside was a whole thing about Mark Twain. It was like this, some anniversary. And I instantly got punched in the face by Mark Twain. He came to me and he's like, you need to reach out to my great-great-granddaughter and let her know that she is, in fact, my great-great-granddaughter. And I'm like, excuse me, what? You, who died in 1910, want me to go to somebody in 2020 something?
2019.
Okay. And tell her that she is your granddaughter? And he was like, yep. So I did just that. He's like, she's an author. I'm like, of course she is. Because everyone an author now. Emily an author. This one an author. You know what? I'm going to say something. I believe Emily. I believe her because Mark Twain didn't know me from Adam. He was I wasn't even doing mediumship at that point heavily. And this dude came to me like it was water.
Crazy. I remember that. That was so crazy. It was crazy that he just randomly started talking to you. We were like, what the hell?
Right. It was so fascinating, though.
And then you did reach out to the great granddaughter there. And then she was like, thank you. I always knew that.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have validation.
Right. It was so wild. So, like, I know that the family was pissed because this woman's making money off of his name. But I genuinely believe that...
Maybe none of them were using a Ouija board to get a hold of him.
Well, they definitely were not. But Mark Twain is one of those energies that love being channeled. So that is somebody we're definitely going to come back to as well.
All right, guys. Now, the next case will get even darker. Now,
Oh, Vicky, might I add, is one of our listeners. She sent this story in.
we're going to get into our story here that was sent to us by one of our listeners, Vicky, and it takes place in 1995. Ooh. Now, at the time, Vicky had recently separated from her husband and was raising 5 children. On Halloween, one of her daughters stayed overnight at a friend's house. The next day, Vicky went to pick her up, and the kids were terrified. They claimed that they had been playing with a Ouija in the basement and had seen some dark shape hiding nearby.
Oh my goodness. Wait. The Ouija board was in the dark in a basement. Oh my God. A big no-no.
Now, on the drive home, Vicky experienced an overwhelming feeling of fear. She felt as though someone was sitting in the car with her and rushed home as quickly as she could. Later that day, the girls arrived at Vicky's house and brought the Ouija board with them.
Oh my God.
They went into the bedroom and began using it again. Now, minutes later, they ran out screaming, claiming that whatever they had encountered had followed them.
Yeah, I'd say.
The family, now gathered around the Ouija board, began asking questions. According to Vicky, the board identified itself as a 12-year-old boy who claimed he had a twin brother.
Oh my God.
The entity allegedly said he had killed his twin and then he killed by his father.
Oh my God.
Wanting to prove the children were moving the planchette themselves, Vicky instructed everyone to remove their hands from the board. She says it continued answering questions even though nobody was even touching it.
Holy shit.
As the night went on, the situation became even stranger. The entity reportedly became fixated on Vicky's teenage daughter and claimed it wanted to enter her body.
Oh my God.
It insisted that it would not hurt her.
Yeah, yes it would.
Always will. The family says unexplained activity began occurring throughout the house.
Yikes.
A cupboard door would repeatedly open and close. The telephone continued ringing even after it was unplugged.
Oh my
The entity
God.
also seemed to predict events before they even happened.
No, yeah, they're really psychic.
A friend later called and said his mother believed something negative was present around the family. Following her advice, they attempted to burn the Ouija board.
Oh.
According to Vicky, the board would not catch fire.
Yeah.
At first, despite gasoline being poured on it while they were outside trying to destroy it, they say the house suddenly sounded as though a loud party was happening inside. It could be heard, and the atmosphere became chaotic. Eventually, the board began burning. Vicky says it produced a strange whining noise and rotten smell as it burned.
Jesus Christ.
Now, the next morning, the family discovered rabbit pellets scattered throughout the yard and several white rabbits dead in cages. When they checked the remains of the board, They reported they found the word yes still visible and untouched by the flames. How fucking creepy is that?
This is a wild story.
More than 30 years later, Vicky says she still occasionally experiences chills and believes whatever was present that night may have never completely left. The question is, what really happened in that house? A frightened family caught up in panic and a series of strange coincidences, or something much darker?
Let me just feel the vibes here on what I automatically feel. I'm glad we called it what it was, because it was absolutely an entity. An entity, so there are entities that can take over without permission.
Crazy.
But it is a lot easier for entities to ask permission because they can gain a lot more control. Now, this thing, I believe, was definitely trying to hide behind a 12-year-old boy to...
Well, like I said, as I said in the
mask.
beginning, right? Like if they're coming to kids and stuff, they're gonna come as another child,
right? They have to be appealing, right? They have,
and
to,
it was young kids who were playing with it,
especially since it was infatuated with your daughter as well, which makes a lot of sense because children are often the biggest piece to get possessed. Like kids are, it happens more, especially when you're playing with the Ouija board. And I honestly feel like you guys continue to keep playing, but like for me, I would have been panicked right away after the first time, but this thing was pushing you guys to play it. It was like more. Almost
and
as
they
if it
did.
was holding
The
you in
little
control.
girls brought it to their friend's house,
Right.
and then the parent, like, and the teenager, like everybody getting involved.
And then the burning part of it, not burning, like that is hella messed up. But I will tell you this. Do not try to burn a Ouija board. Don't do it. I know that people think it's probably like a best, but it's definitely not the best. I mean, you can burn it, but you have to do a whole full blown like prayer, protection, holy water, like a whole ritual. You can find spells specifically, and maybe even a witchy friend to kind of help out, because then they can help like seal that energy. Because what it sounds like is it's like getting bitten by something that's poisonous, right? You're gonna have that like sharp venomous feeling in your skin forever because it's gotten like a claw in you. And that's why you guys constantly remember it, because it, like you guys, like you said, didn't fully unattach.
Right. So you would have to go, just like if you got bit by a snake, you would have to go to a doctor. So you would have to go to like a witch doctor, somebody who knows how to get rid of entities and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would. And I wouldn't even think it was so bad, because entities and the Catholic Church is really, and I know that people have all different religions, and that's totally fine. Like whatever I don't have experience in other religions, so I don't know how well it works. So I can't give you suggestions on other religions. But if you are a born Catholic, meaning you were baptized in a Catholic church or whatever the case may be, if you have that holy water and being like, being the host or doing something, praying in a church, even getting a little sprinkle of holy water on you, like that should also help you. Even if you're not Catholic, it will help with removing that energy from you very, very easily. But witchy friends are the best.
Absolutely. There's definitely other methods out there for
So
sure.
many.
But holy water being one of the more powerful ones, because entities, demons, stuff like that cannot withstand the holy water.
Right.
So that would be the first thing to do.
Right. And then there's, like Landon said, many other things, but I genuinely feel like this thing cannot control you. It cannot control your family, but it definitely still has like a eye watching you.
And it can definitely do things that make you scared. Like, as we heard in Vicky's story, it can move things. It can turn lights on and off. It can do a lot of stuff that spirits can do, for sure. But it also makes you feel like something's watching you. It might even make your moods go up and down, crazy, like angry and paranoid and all kinds of like sleepless nights. But you can get it removed.
It can, especially but there are levels, like for instance, let's just say Vicky's family decided to go the other route. Not that they would have, but when an entity asks for permission to enter
Immediately
a body.
say no.
Right. But if they said yes, or if they were forced to say yes, because that is also a possibility as well, it could have gone in a different direction. Your child could have been possessed. You might have had to have contacted somebody from the Vatican to help out, you know?
Right.
And
You're lucky it did not get to that point.
It is rare for these things to happen, by the way, guys. I just want to point that out.
So rare. It is not going to happen every single time you do something. Like we said, you go out tomorrow.
Cases.
Right. You go out tomorrow. You go get yourself a Ouija board from Mattel, from the toy store.
Right.
And then you go take it somewhere. Very unlikely anything's going to happen. But if you take it to a severely demonic place, leave it overnight and for several nights, and then you go back and pick it up, it's probably going to have something attached to it. Most definitely.
Exactly. And or, you know, like what Landen was saying, like most of the time when we are doing the Ouija board side of things, we're letting spirits come into our home. So if you're okay with spiritual energy being in your home, like, you know, whatever, that's your thing. Just be cautious. Because
you need to know how to use it. Like I said earlier, the most common thing, you always need to say goodbye. You need to close that out.
No one ever says goodbye. Yep.
Right. You need to, no matter how scared you are, even if you're scared, you need to move it to goodbye. And you just say, goodbye, I'm leaving, I'm done. And they need to leave, then they will exit. If you do not do that, you are telling them basically it's okay to hang out here.
Right.
And you're leaving that open for that portal, because that's exactly what entities want. They want an open portal.
I would also never do Ouija board stuff at 3 a.m.
No, witching hour, unless you are a professional.
Absolutely.
And you have contacted somebody on the Ouija board multiple times, and you know they're, like some of our other stories, scholars or journalists or Mark Twain or something like that, and you have proof that they're not a bad person, then maybe you could do it at 3 a.m.
Right.
But if it's your first time and you're in a haunted hotel where there's been many deaths, do not do a Ouija board at 3 a.m. and you're unprepared.
Absolutely. And always recommend to have somebody who's spiritually
inclined.
Right. Somebody who knows what they're doing. Like for me, we're going to be doing this more often, but you know, I'm going to go into spaces where it might make me feel a little uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it and see it and feel it out and go from there. But if something becomes dangerous, I'm getting the hell out of there.
The hell out of there.
But anyways, now Landen, before we go, did you want to tell us your Ouija experience?
Well, I have two. Let's see. I guess we'll talk about one. I had a haunted house growing up. It was passed down through my family for many, many years. And me and my friends, like most people, had a Ouija board. We all passed it around to each other. We decided to do it in my house one night, and we went up into my room. We lit the candles. We turned the lights off. All of a sudden,
what kind of candles?
Just plain white candles.
Good to know.
Plain white candles. I think there was maybe even a red candle in there too. Like
a red candle,
like a maroony red.
Red candles are so devil inviting.
I
gotta
know.
Put that out there.
Well, we were young. We didn't know.
Of course,
we knew nothing.
Didn't know. Of course. Why would you? It represents blood. There's just no.
I know that
candles.
now, but back then, we're talking like I was like maybe 15, 16.
Right.
Like I knew nothing what I was doing.
But I'm just warning y'all.
So we were asking if anybody was there. Now, I already knew that my house was haunted because I had physically spoken to some spirits at that time. I was very in tune with that stuff. And it was mostly my family anyways that showed up. So we were just hoping somebody would come through. Then this person came through saying that their name was Esther. And we were like, who the hell are you? And then it took them such a long time to like come through, really. And then my sister said, this is stupid. And she like pushed the planchette off the board. And well, that was not so good. Not so good at all, because when she did that, my window was open, I want to say like maybe 2-3 inches, just a little bit, just to let some wind come through. Slam shut. Then my bedroom door slammed shut. Then the candles go out and everybody got up, ran out of the house screaming, and it was just insane.
I would have been out of there so fast. You would not have. I am a runner. I run. I would be hiding. Oh my God, that's so scary. No, thank you. I am a scaredy ass bitch.
Then we used the Ouija board again. Me and my friends drove up with the same Ouija board that we've had years later. Years and years later. We actually buried it in the woods.
Oh my God.
And then we went and unburied it.
What? I I was like,
And then we took it to one of the most haunted cemeteries in New York, which is Gutelberg.
No. What did you do afterwards with that thing?
Well, you want me to tell you the Gutelberg story?
Oh my God. What did you do in Gutelberg?
So we were walking around with the Ouija board there. Now, I'm going to give you a little backstory. Maybe we'll do an episode on this later on. But anyways, Gutelberg was a doctor.
I remember
he was an
this
abortion
story.
doctor. Mm-hmm. And he would do abortions back in the day in the back alley in the shed. Now, the reason why they call it Gutelberg Cemetery is because most of the women and the babies died. And he threw the babies in this little pond lake thing.
Holy fuck.
And then would bury the women around the lake.
Wait, the women?
The women that died.
So,
with their babies in the lake.
Oh my God. So he was a back alley doctor that wasn't really a doctor.
Right. And then because he was going to get caught, he hung himself in the tree at the top of the cemetery.
Oh my God. That sounds like an awful
place. So if you
place.
walk in the back of this place, you'll see the shed, and there is a black garbage bag that's been hanging there for centuries, and nobody will touch it. Because every time you go to the shed, you'll hear like dogs barking, like crazy vicious dogs. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know nothing. And then all this, you'll get sick, you get a headache.
Scary.
You feel like something's grabbing onto your arm, so you have to go back to the front of the cemetery. Now you'll take pictures. There's orbs. Some people have experienced seeing, like, in their pictures, like what looks like a noose hanging there and all this jazz. Anyways, me and my friends, we decided to go. There was a tombstone there of one of the girls, and we put the Ouija board on top of the tombstone right underneath the tree where he hung himself.
Oh my God.
And he came through our Ouija board.
Nope. No, thank you. Dr. Abortion, Dr. Needham hired, Dr. Psychopath. No, thank you.
So then we got freaked out because he said, look behind you.
No way. I would never look
Again,
behind
me and my friends didn't say goodbye, and we ran to my car, and then all of a sudden, my car did not start, and then, I kid you not, the heat turns on full blast, and we're in the middle of summer.
Oh my God. It's like an oven.
And all you see running up my windshield is little baby handprints and feet prints. No fucking joke.
Nope. No,
and
thank you.
Car wasn't. I was like, why the hell is my heat on? But my car won't start. This is crazy. My friends were freaking out. They were hitting me. They were hitting the back of my seat. They were like, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. And I'm like, I'm trying. And then out of nowhere, my car just started, and I fucking flew down the road, and we left.
Oh my God. You are so fucking lucky you got out of there. Oh my God. So crazy. No, thank you. No. See, guys, it's probably not best to mess with the Ouija board. I am a professional, so that's why I do it, but yeah.
I definitely got way more familiar.
I'll be honest, I don't do it often because that thing freaks the fuck out of me, but
it's very sketchy.
It's very powerful.
Needless to say, I had an entity attached to me from one of those times of using it, and I did have to get it removed, but it is not something to play with. Not at all.
Landon says, be professional, do what you need to do. Like, make sure that you just do it. Just make sure that you don't play with it. I'll play with it so you don't have to, okay? But anyways, guys, that is the very end of our Ouija board story. If you have any questions about the Ouija board, please drop them in the comments. If you are Vicky, let us know in the comments. I honestly had enjoyed this episode. Not sure what we're doing yet. The next episode, we'll let you know.
But watch out for part 2 when we try to contact patients. And in the comments, drop what you want us to ask patients.
Literally. Well, everyone, it is always us
against everything.